The Federal and Velvin Hypermarket jointly present the Thoothukudi Marathon 2024 to raise awareness on drug abuse. The event is co-presented by Edison Cardio Care Center, Tiruchendur, powered by L. Anand Jewelry and St. Mother Teresa Engineering College, Thoothukudi.
Hello and a warm welcome to Federal's special program, Capital Beat. There is a continuous uproar in Parliament over Rahul Gandhi's caste question. Now, Sambit Patra today held a press conference. He targeted the LOP, Rahul Gandhi, for his objections to Anurag Thakur's apparent remarks on Gandhi's caste. Now, what has Sambit Patra said today? Sambit Patra said that Anurag Thakur did not name anyone. Why did Congress create a ruckus? That is the first question he raised. Then he says, few days ago, Rahul Gandhi was asking questions about the castes of journalists. Then he asked questions about the castes of administrative officers. He asked questions on the castes of judges. So, if someone asks Rahul Gandhi's caste, then why does it become an insult? And then he says, if you want a caste census, and no one's caste can be asked inside Lok Sabha. Does this mean that this land is not sacred? Only the house is sacred. So these are the questions which he spoke of while he was addressing the press conference today. Then he says that this is the 99 ka khel, 99 ka khel. That is, it's the majority. The brute numbers which Congress has, and this reflects Rahul Gandhi's arrogance also in some way. But then somehow this entire question on social justice, on caste census, BJP has tried to dismiss this question in a way, in a manner in which the BJP leaders are responding. Now, if you have seen Anurag Thakur's comment yesterday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has tweeted it. He has lauded the comment. So, what would one say about this entire approach by BJP? And also, how does Congress take this narrative forward from here on? Joining me now is Subhashini Ali, the veteran activist, and the left leader joins us. Thank you so much, ma'am, for joining. We have Juhi Singh, the Samajwadi Party spokesperson, joining us. Thank you, ma'am. We have Girish Joshi, who's the senior journalist and political commentator. Thank you so much, Girish, for joining. And we have Professor Ajay Gudawardi from Jawaharlal Nehru University. Thank you so much, Ajay, for joining. And I'd like to begin with Subhashini Ali today. Subhashini, I really want to ask you about this comment which was made by Anurag Thakur for Rahul Gandhi, saying that your caste is not known. And what is the harm if people, you've been asking the castes of journalists, judges, administrative officers, and if BJP asks you your caste, you treat it as an insult. How would you really see this retort given by BJP today?
I think that this is a typical case of the kind of obfuscation, the kind of covering up that BJP always resorts to. The main question to keep uppermost in one's mind is the Varnashram Dharma divisions in the Hindu community are actually the Achilles heel of the BJP project for trying to unite all Hindus in the name of religion and going forward towards the establishment of a Manuvadi Hindu Rashtra. So unless they can do this, their project actually falls through. And that is why they react to the issue of caste in very peculiar ways. Now, what was extremely, extremely to be condemnable, was the way in which that person who used to be a minister, BJP leader, the way he addressed Rahul Gandhi and says, "Tumhari koi jaat hai nahi, tum apni jaat batao." Now, what is he trying to say? That you are the product of a mixed marriage. Not only your own parentage was part of a mixed marriage, but even your grandparentage. So obviously you have no caste. So kya hai aapki jaat? Now this was an extremely casteist way of talking to someone and calling someone out. You cannot compare this to saying you want a caste census. What is a caste census? A caste census is not making people stand up on the road and tell you what their caste is. It is a way in which somebody will go to their homes and they will declare their caste to someone who is doing a count, and why is it being done? To see whether there's any correlation between poverty and caste, between landlessness and caste, between property ownership and caste, and therefore whether, if that is so, if there is a correlation, then policies have to be framed, special policies targeting people belonging to the SC, ST communities, to the OBC communities, and possibly also the minorities, to say that they need special attention because they suffer from special discrimination, and women also. Now, that is something quite different. Doing a caste census is something quite different from standing up and trying to humiliate someone and say कि भाई आपकी तो कोई जात है नहीं, आप बताइए क्या है आपकी जात. And then, of course, Sambit Patra, I mean, I don't know what type of person he's supposed to be, a doctor. And I think that the comments he makes are just not even worth responding to. And, he's also a master in trying to confuse people. But I remember that, if I'm not wrong, he himself had himself photographed eating food in, I think, some Dalit family's home. And apparently the food and the vessels were brought from outside. He was not eating from their vessels, and he was the only one eating. Those people were
Yes.
not eating. So that goes a long way to show us what his own opinion on Varnashram Dharma is. But my point is that this kind of exhibition that the BJP is making of their extreme caste arrogance, and the fact that the Prime Minister has praised, just lauded that ex-minister for his terrible rudeness, boorish behavior, it just tells us a lot more about what kind of people they are, what kind of society they want to create, and how very committed they are to a casteist understanding, a casteist approach, and to keeping Varnashram Dharma alive. I mean, this is what we call a Manuvadi approach, and I think they have made it very clear that they really are Manuvadis, and that is the way that they are, and that is the way in which they want to proceed. Finally, I'd like to say something, that these questions are actually all rather irrelevant, because the only parent whose parentage is not in doubt is the mother. So I think that these kind of questions should really be kept out of the public domain altogether. This is ridiculous. It's humiliating. It's boorish. And it is something very different from carrying out a caste census to find out what the correlation is between caste and poverty, caste and unemployment, caste and propertylessness, landlessness. So they're just trying to get out of holding a caste census by bringing up all these issues and trying to prove, oh, well, you really aren't for it either. That's ridiculous. Of course, we're all for it and it should be held.
Right. Now let me come to Juhi Singh. Juhi, even Akhilesh Yadav responded to it, and he said that how dare you ask anybody's caste. Now, another statement which was made by Sambit Patra was that towards the end he says that, you can talk about the caste not inside the house but outside the house, and then he raises a question saying that does this mean that this land is not sacred, only the house is sacred? Now what would you say to this entire narrative, the way the BJP leaders are pushing this entire bit on the caste question and the social justice, the caste census? Are they trying to dismiss it, or would you say that they are really intimidated by Rahul's presence? What would you say? I mean, how BJP is responding to this entire thing?
So every statement in the parliament must be seen in reference to the context it was made. And before that, the minister, the ex-minister, I would say, who's known for his, according to BJP standards, very in Hindi, very ojasvi vakta, he made the statements and he asked the leader of opposition his caste. He was not conducting a caste census in the parliament, was he? As Ma'am Subhashini Ali Ma'am says, that caste census is something the Samajwadi Party and the socialist leftist thinking and those people who've always supported the bringing up the marginalized, the socially, the scheduled castes, the scheduled tribes, the OBCs have always supported, because it's a means of making social justice a reality, making policies, making the proper policy interventions, and and actually bringing into mainstream those whom we ourselves have marginalized through hundreds of thousands of years. So to really equate that to that fact, I think Mr. Patra doesn't really understand it. The BJP has always been very clear on this, that they do not want a caste census. Caste is a reality of our society. It's also a fact that on the basis of caste, discriminations are made. BJP just wants to superimpose this huge, I would say, a perception of religious unification of the Hindus, and the caste census does threaten it. I think the laboratory which they really tried these experiment was UP, and making Ayodhya as a symbol, and they have failed. They failed hugely in this because, again, Ayodhya, I would define, was a seat for the general candidate Avdesh Prasad ji, one from there, really negating what they were imposing on us. So I would say it is insulting to use the parliament for trivializing a matter such as caste census, that platform, the achieve the what it intends to achieve in our society. But that's what the BJP has always done, talk of narratives, talk of the huge issues which have no relation to our everyday life. The everyday life is employment, how do we make our two ends meet, women's security, what is women's rights. So whenever you have this, including Mr. Patra or any n number of, I would say, spokespersons, the only thing you hear is how they have empowered the SCs, STs, or women by, allowing them to be represented in the parliament, completely negating the fact that the constitution itself provides us with n number of seats which have been reserved. We call them reserve seats for SCs, STs. So those number of people will get elected to the parliament. Even in Panchayati Raj, they will go to the parliament, irrespective of which party wins. What is the step you've taken ahead? What is the step when you ask a person to fill a form or to give certain information in caste census, then you will also ask him of his economic condition, his family, what sort of work he is doing, and there'll be other factors which will actually help you to develop a whole picture of what our society is going through and what we need to do. So why negate that? We've talked of Bihar. Yes, they conducted the caste census. They've given reservations also, but the reservations, I think, were struck down by the High Court, which is always a problem because it is an area which the central government should address. I do not know whether Nitish Kumar ji has appealed against that judgment or not. I had not privy to that information. But as a commitment to caste-based census, the Samajwadi Party stands by it. And why Akhilesh ji said, I'll just give you some instances. I mean, they're horrific instances, and we are going to celebrate our 78 years of independence. And in 2017, when he vacated his house, then it was purified by Ganga Jal. The Ganga was definitely not purified, but the house was. He went to Kannauj to a temple. It's a part of our faith. Whosoever wants to go. The temple was washed. Some of our workers garlanded a Rana Pratap statue in Mainpuri during these elections. The statue was purified. So this is the sort of hatred and conflict which the BJP promotes and likes, which actually is supported by the fact that the Prime Minister likes to retweet and admire the speech of Anurag Thakur, while any other Prime Minister or Member of Parliament would have at least tried to rein in such speeches. So it's a very sad story.
Okay, now let me come to Girish, and Pushpraj Deshpande, author of Bharat Jodo Yatra, also has joined us. Pushpraj, thank you so much for joining. I'll come to you. But Girish, coming to you now, if I was looking at Sambit Patra's statement where he says that you said that asking about caste inside the house is an insult. So how will the census be done? Now, this is the kind of question which he has raised in his press conference. Now, what would you say to that?
Situation now for BJP is like gang of Wasipur. These mafias, when the boss is going to ask somebody to go and kill 2-3 people, come in the beginning and tell, "Saab, mere ko mauka do, main goli marunga." So these Anurag Thakur and Kangana, and these are all sharpshooters who want to get blue-eyed boys of PM. And the tragedy of it is, he should have kept mum when he knew that this controversy is going to rise. He also tweets. That means he really likes what these people are doing. And now they say that it has been expunged, and you cannot play the video what they have said, because that Godi media was really into and fix whether they really should discuss this issue or no. They had no answer. So they are now still trying to protect them. And if you see Kangana also commenting like this, and it was very worst of PM writing that India बेनकाब कर दिया India alliance को. What is बेनकाब in this? You have been बेनकाब. You are not going to attend Lok Sabha to answer them. And then now problem is that every time Bajap used to decide the narrative, and these people used to go run around answering those questions. Now it is the other way around. Now these people set the agenda, and blow hot, blow cold situation, this Akhilesh and Rahul that they are playing, this is the best part in politics one can do. That like the BJP used to do in Bajpayee was a mild person and Advani was aggressive. Now that same formula is admitted here. Rahul is still saying, I don't want to say that he should say sorry or he should plead guilty. And other way, Akhilesh says that this is nonsense. This cannot be tolerated. Aap kaise jati? Who gives you the permission? So these are, but understand one thing, that this is all a narrative to divert what are the burning issues in India today. China border, you know what is happening. China has already built a bridge. And when the social media says that, they are trying to hide. Secondly comes is that Nitish Kumar is asking for accounts. He knew what he's not getting. But really, if you see what is getting discussed around in the political circle is that Modi is in fix now, because forget what Supreme Court or High Court has nullified their 65%. But this can be done by the Parliament. He has got that much of majority to do it. Put it in Schedule 9 so that in future this cannot be challenged in the court. This is what Nitish wants. But Modi is helpless. He can't do that. So there are lot many burning issues. To divert that, these triple things will come on and we'll get on discussing all these things. That is what exactly the BJP wants. Now, if you see that coaching classes, and it was really, if somebody is getting his conscience right, yesterday the Speaker of Rajya Sabha said, "ये मामला तो बहुत serious है. This should be discussed." Advertisement का हर पैसा बच्चों से लेते हैं. So even Dhankar has somewhere realized that now what is happening is beyond the control of the government, and it should be taken care of. Now, if you see Haryana, today we get some episode that BJP guys are not able to enter the villages. This is the ground reality from where they want to get the mind diverted of the people. So such nonsense will keep on coming in the coming days also, Neelu.
That is one bit, that they're trying to divert the attention from the pressing issues, from the burning issues which are there on the ground. But Professor Ajay Gudavardi, if Anurag Thakur has raised the question of Rahul Gandhi's caste, what do you think at the end of the day has BJP really achieved? Doesn't BJP realize that the ground is really slipping beneath their feet? And it will slip further if they keep making statements like these. And on the other hand, then they will try and reach out to the OBCs, the STs and the SCs, tribals. What is this kind of a narrative which BJP is trying to portray before the people?
Yes, Neelu, first thing that Anurag Thakur did not ask for Rahul Gandhi's caste. He said, "Jiska jaat nahi hai," which has a very specific kind of a caste slur. Asking somebody's caste has a different political connotation from declaring that somebody does not have a caste. STs don't have a caste. Scheduled tribes don't have a caste. So it is a caste slur coming from a certain vantage point, which needs to be asked, what is Mr. Anurag Thakur's caste? That as a Thakur, he is speaking in the voice of being a Thakur, that to say that others who are casteless are somebody who are lesser beings. So this is the specific casteist connotation that Mr. Thakur have. I want to ask, how does it go with BJP's slogan in 2019? They said, "Jaat paat se upar uth ke hum Hindu banana chahte." So what is your agenda? On one hand, you say you want everyone to be Hindus. You want everyone to rise above your caste. So you should be happy if Rahul Gandhi does not have a caste of his own. He then becomes a universal Hindu. So that means they are also not happy if opposition claims Hindu, because Rahul Gandhi, right or wrong, has continuously claiming his Hindu identity in the parliament by holding up Shiva's photograph, which was of course disallowed. And he's saying that ours is a Hinduism. He respects a certain kind of Hinduism. If BJP was really serious even about the Hindu identity, forget the caste question for a moment. Even if they were serious about their Hindu identity and Hindu well-being, they should have ideally debate what Hinduism we are talking about, whether Rahul Gandhi really represents the right kind of Hinduism. So they are unhappy that Rahul is claiming a Hindu identity. Therefore, you are also unhappy of people claiming being Hindu. You are unhappy people claiming caste identity is one thing. You are also unhappy people claiming a Hindu identity. Because for you, Hindu identity is one specific kind of Hinduism, which is hatred of minorities, which is violent, which is toxic, and which is masculine. And Rahul Gandhi does not represent that kind of Hinduism. And this is the serious point that we need to raise, that on both fronts, that they're unhappy with raising your caste question because that leads to social justice and mobility of 85% of Indian population, SC, ST, and OBCs. On the other hand, you're unhappy that somebody is claiming a Hindu identity. If Modi was serious about Hindu identity, he should have congratulated Rahul Gandhi and said, or they should have claimed a victory, saying it is because of us now you are forced to claim a Hindu identity. They are unhappy even that, because they want to even weaponize Hindu identity. They weaponize caste, now they wish to weaponize Hindu identity. So this is a nihilistic politics that goes nowhere, that has no long-term vision with all their grandstanding claims. It's unfortunate that Parliament has become the forum where they're playing out these dirty tricks. But as some of my co-panelists have said, the bright spot of all of this is that people are able to today see through. Earlier, they took this agenda serious. They thought that there is something Hindu being projected. Even as OBCs and Dalits, the way the voting went, voted for BJP thinking that they will ameliorate and give them a sense of recognition and dignity. Today, I think the writing is on clear writing on the wall that they are neither committed to caste mobility, but they're not even committed to Hindu identity. So on both fronts, I think this is a very shallow kind of nihilistic politics that can engulf everyone into this kind of a universal crisis. They have pushed it, which is, as some of them said, is visible in every arena of governance, whether it's examination, whether it's universities, whether it is economy, whether it's inflation. I think this is the same majoritarian shallow psyche that they have pushed. It's leading to a universal crisis of governance.
Pushpraj, I'll come to you now. And today, in fact, when Sambit Patra was addressing the press conference, he also raised the issue of Modi's caste. That how Rahul Gandhi tried to mislead the people on Modi's caste. He also mentioned this bit. But now the question to you is that what is the real problem of BJP? What are they trying to say? I mean, are they on the back foot because of the domineering presence of Rahul Gandhi and the kind of issues which he's raising inside the house? Or as what Girish said, that they are trying to divert the attention? Are they really intimidated with the rising dominance of the opposition? BJP looks totally confused. But what is the real intention when they raise Rahul Gandhi's caste and they make a slur like this?
Let me divide your question. Let me answer that question in three parts: the what, the how, and the why. With regard to the what they are doing is very clear. They are obfuscating to divert and deflect attention from what is actually the burning issue of this thing. Whether it's the lack of the attack on fiscal federalism, whether it is the lack of adequate attention on Manipur or the rising terror attacks in Jammu and Kashmir, or even on the Agniveer matter, not to mention the crumbling infrastructure, which clearly points to the abject failure of na khaunga, na khane dunga. So now the fact of the matter is, in this budget session, there are multiple things. And it's not just that the opposition has been speaking out. It's almost as if India, and when I say India, I mean both the India bloc, but as well as the Indian people, are collectively speaking out against this budget as being anti-people and anti-nation, anti-national, right? Now, the fact of the matter is, they need something. And this is a tried and tested toolkit for the BJP. In the last 10 years, every time there is something that they cannot speak to or answer to, or they want to evade accountability, they raise some cultural issue to deflect attention. That is what they are doing right now. How they are doing it? They are doing this by caricaturing and vilifying what Rahul Gandhi is saying, by reducing it to the bare essentials. And let me be very clear, they are not. This is not a very underhand sort of technique. What Anurag Thakur did was very insidious and very it was a thought through strategy. By saying that you don't have a caste, you are actually pandering to the worst sentiments amongst the BJP, the far right amongst the BJP and the Sangh Parivar. What is the argument that they have been saying? That his father, his grandfather, his lineage is not Hindu. By making that assertion, They are pandering to the worst amongst their core weight, and by somehow suggesting that Muslims or Christians or other minorities or plural culture, or say our Indian syncretic culture, is somehow less Indian by some as opposed to someone who claims to be purely a caste, upper caste Hindu, right? That is how they are doing it, by reducing Rahul Gandhi to his identity. That is the second problem, and it's not at all something that we need to casually dismiss. And the third thing, the why they are doing it. Now, understand this: that over the last 10 years, the BJP has made last 13 years, they have made concerted efforts to appropriate OBC and Dalit subcastes. Now, if you see the track record from 2014 to multiple elections going down to 2019, subcaste OBCs and Dalits, not dominant caste, in many states, whether it's Uttar Pradesh, whether it's Bihar, whether it's Maharashtra, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, and in Karnataka, have been slowly voting for the BJP. About 41% have been voting for the BJP. It might not be a dominant percentage, but they are voting. That is now beginning to slip away, partly because of their own mistakes. They by saying that we want to amend the constitution, by constantly making efforts to undermine reservations. And I'll give you, I'm not making a blind assertion. I'm going to verify this. I'm going to back this up with some empirical evidence. In the Supreme Court and in the Parliament, they said we are not going to conduct caste census. There is an affidavit that they have said so. Plus, they actually did not protest the cancellation of reservations for OBCs in Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh in the Panchayat and the Zilla Panchayat until much later. Plus, atrocities against Dalits and Adivasis have increased almost by 42% or 43%, if I'm not mistaken, for Dalits. And I think it's 36% for Adivasis in the last 5 years. My point is, because they are seen to be now divisive, because the OBC and the Dalit subcaste vote is shifting away, this is their effort, this is their renewed effort to rake up base emotions and trying to reclaim their vote in the before the next 4 elections, which is Jharkhand, Jharkhand, Maharashtra, Haryana, and possibly Bihar. I don't know if Bihar will happen, but it's very clear that this is their way to again disrupt the apple cart and reclaim the OBC and Dalit subcart vote. I don't think the people are going to buy it. People ain't sort of getting fooled. As Gurish ji and Ajay Gudavardi sir said, people aren't buying this. So this is, as you rightly pointed out, they are on the back foot. They are sort of scrambling, and I think that this strategy is going to implode very soon, because none of what Rahul Gandhi said about the caste census, none of that actually is untrue. What did he say? He said that the upper echelons of the bureaucracy, of the media, and this is, he's not said it this session, he said it in the earlier session, in the media, in the businesses, are actually not are dominated by upper castes, not
Yes.
by Dalit, Adivasi, and OBC. So that is true. And whether you say that this didn't happen for the last 70 years, let me remind the BJP that from 2000 till 2024, they have been in government for 14 years, right? At least 14 years. Now, the fact of the matter is, you are responsible for this as much as any other party was. And you can't keep evading accountability and saying that this is not my business, it's their problem. This is what their experts for hires have been saying on social media. It's not the case. So you need to, the buck stops with the prime minister, and it's high time he stops diverting the issue.
Right. The buck stops with the Prime Minister, but you have the Prime Minister who's lauding Anurag Thakur's comment. Now, let me come for the concluding remarks very briefly to each one of you. So, starting with Subhashini. Subhashini, so what would you really say? Where does this entire narrative, now it's India Alliance's caste narrative versus BJP's caste narrative, where does it head from here on? Very briefly. Yes.
Definitely, the BJP has, I think, overplayed its hand, and you cannot be everything to everybody or different things to different people all the time. And they are being called out for what they really believe in, which is, as I said, they are committed to Varnashram Dharma. They have done everything in the last 10 years to deprive the Dalits and the OBCs, SCs, STs, and women and minorities of their basic human rights, their basic constitutional rights. Their situation today is even worse than it was 10 years ago. So now they are being called out for this. And when they're called out, then they react in a typically bullying upper caste fashion, which is to say, tum kaun hote ho, tum ho kaun. This is a very, I mean, especially I live in North India. This is the way you humiliate somebody by saying, "Tum to kuch hui nahi, tumhari to koi jaat hi nahi hai, tum kuch
Exactly.
hui nahi." But that is being now heard and being understood and interpreted in very different ways from what the BJP may have expected by people who have been treated in that fashion, who have been subjected to this kind of arrogance, who will now feel that this is what these people are really like and we cannot have anything to do with them. That's one thing. But I also think that it is necessary for people in the India Alliance to also talk about the other very basic issues. For example, what's happening in education, what's happening in unemployment, what's happening about poverty. Now the State Bank and the Adani Group are going to become partners in lending money to farmers, which means that the government will be collecting the loans and the interest to
Yeah.
help Adani. Therefore, the whole question of loan waivers and all that will just not be possible anymore. I mean, these are very serious and terrible things, terrible steps that the government is taking.
Right.
So I think it's
Right.
also necessary to use Parliament to discuss these issues.
Right. All right. So, of course, these basic issues are also being raised. But coming back to the focus today, Juhi, to you, what would you really say to this vilification campaign of Rahul Gandhi? Now, where does it leave BJP from here on? Have they really pressed the self-destruct button? I mean, asking for Rahul Gandhi's caste, and in a manner in which Anurag Thakur did, and then he being lauded by the Prime Minister. What would you say? Really say is this like self pressing of the destruct button?
They've already pressed the self-destruct button. We live, unfortunately, Nilu, and it's very ironical. We've lived through these times where being secular and being socialist was actually being equated to being almost like a criminal by some of the BJP leaders. There were the BJP leaders, JP Nadda included, Lallu Singh included, who questioned the constitution, even the basic rights in the constitution. So when we went to poll, I mean, the BJP might think that people don't understand what they are speaking, but everywhere we went, the scheduled caste, the scheduled tribes, the OBCs, they were also aware that their rights could be taken away. The government is actually poised to do that. What Subhashini Ali says, that the economic landscape suddenly has, with the government's intervention and pushing change a lot, there are no secure jobs. And there are people, there are youngsters who are protesting. The only answers they get from the government, I was with a group of Mukhya Sevikas yesterday. Their result is awaited for 3 years, and the secretary refuses to meet them because that's the sort of arrogance of power which the BJP comes with. So, completely to ignore, as I said, the economic issues, the health issues, what sort of public. I thought it was the government which was. That's an idea we confirmed too in India, that health and education was something which had to be really cheap, available to everyone, and the government had to be responsible. And these are the two sectors where the budget allocations are really going down, and they are being privatized hugely. Of course, the farmers' questions they do not understand. So, the people are beginning to understand what the BJP represents and what the BJP wants. And the only thing they want is to set a narrative which is not related to everyday life and everyday issues. And Rahul Gandhi's questioning is another way of diversing, getting your attention away. But it will come back, and the opposition and the India Alliance will do that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Piyush, how does BJP now reach out to the OBCs, the STs, the Dalits? Will they be able to face them when they are raising these basic issues and making these casteist slurs on Rahul Gandhi? How will they face, no matter to what scale they can go ahead with their social engineering? How are they really going to face?
Nilu, it's absolutely a misnomer. You see,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
because tomorrow, if he is not able to establish what is his jati, the farmers will not leave for the support that he has already given them. Neither the media guys who have fought will feel ashamed. The boys who are in a NEET problem, the boys who have lost their years of academic career, that doesn't mean they're going to support. But in concluding, I can just tell what is happening recently. What Mikhail Gorbachev was to USSR, Narendra Modi will be to BJP and RSS. That is final.
All right. Strong comments coming
He
from
will
there.
dismantle both the things.
Yes, Ajay was smiling when you were making this comment about Mikhail Gorbachev. Ajay, to you, your
No,
concluding remarks.
I think one should avoid this idea of reading this incident in a narrow way as an insult to Rahul Gandhi alone. I think this is not about Rahul Gandhi being insulted. This is an insult to the rest of the communities by calling such a caste
Yes.
slur. They are routine insults that SCs, STs, and OBCs face in the society. BJP is giving a message that they will not hesitate to insult someone who will stand up to their rights and stand up for their cause. That is the message they are giving, that they are not going to spare, that they would anyway. It's institutionalized insult and humiliation of SC, STs, OBCs continues in our society. Anybody who will stand up for them, even if it's Rahul Gandhi, we don't care. So that is the message I take in saying that तेरा जात क्या है, तुम्हारा पहले जिसका जात पता नहीं है. So it is to say that even if you are big enough as Rahul Gandhi, we don't care. If you stand up for SC, ST, OBC rights, you will also be insulted in a similar manner. I think this is an institutionalized thought process. Maybe whether Anurag Thakur thought that this is the meaning he has in his subconscious or not, that message I think comes very clearly, and that is why BJP is on the back foot. So they now suddenly realize, in hindsight, that this is a message and the cat is out of the bag, but perhaps little too late.
Right. All right. Pushparaj, concluding comments from you. Quickly. Yeah.
Very quickly, Niluji, I'm just thinking, I'm a student of history. I'm just thinking Dr. Ambedkar and Acharya Kriplani had grave differences with Pandit Nehru when he was Prime Minister. And Minnu Masani and others, they pillared him in Parliament. I remember I've read many of these debates. I would have, I mean, in my entire life, and these are people who actually work very hard to reform Indian society. I can't ever imagine that they would have ever stooped this low to tell Pandit Nehru ki tumhari jaat kya hai. Can you imagine? I mean, this is my point. This is the larger point. I mean, I want to take away from all of this. He's our prime minister, whether we voted for him, not voted for him. He's no longer a prime minister of one party or of one state, right? Or one bloc, the NDA bloc. He's the prime minister of the entire nation. Everything that the opposition raises cannot be dismissed or delegitimized or disregarded just because you're in the opposition. The India bloc represents 40% of the Indian electorate, but just 1.2% less than you. You cannot be so confrontational and dismissive of legitimate issues that the opposition is raising. And frankly speaking, this is an issue. What Rahul Gandhi, what Akhilesh Yadav, what other leaders, Tejasvi Yadav and others have been raising is an issue to end casteism, to end caste discrimination. This is an issue that should unite us. You might differ, as Vajpayee said, you might have different ways of reaching that same goal, but not the issue. You can't be dismissive or reductionist about that issue. And in doing this, the Prime Minister is not just violating his Rajdhan, but he's also disregarding and attacking parliamentary norms and traditions. How many times has he rewarded those people who have flouted democratic values? When the former MOS of Finance publicly went and hailed mob lynchers, and when he rewarded the incumbent person perpetrator who said "Goli maro salon ko," etc., etc., and now again he's doing this. I mean, the Prime Minister himself is setting the worst possible example. Is this befitting the highest office in the country? I mean, second highest. I mean, this is disrespectful to the Indian democracy. To reduce us to bare identity and primal identities, and then leveraging those fault lines to create further cleavages. This is not befitting of a prime minister. I mean, even a street thug would think 10 times of doing this.
Yeah, and I think Rahul Gandhi retorted very strongly yesterday to Anurag Thakur's comment when he said that I don't want Anurag Thakur to apologize, but I will keep raising the issue of caste census. And I think that no bigger reply in that. But then the whole question is that the entire Congress group and the opposition leaders have today once again stood by Rahul Gandhi saying that, we need an apology from the treasury benches. But will they do it? That's something which is highly unlikely. But of course, there's a continuous uproar on this issue, and this has taken away the attention from all other issues which were there on the ground. Thank you so much, Juhi Singh, Ajay Gudavarti, Girish. Joshi, thank you so much. And Pushpraj, thank you. It was wonderful having all of you on the program. And one appeal to the viewers who are watching this discussion, subscribe to our channel, send us a feedback, and stay tuned to The Federal. Thank you.